which goes live from October. So this manual data extraction and analysis exercise has not been a priority for the team. However, as we moved into phase 2 of the 21st Century Council over the next 6 months with improved IT, plus the increased resources and parking IT from our civil parking enforcement contractors NSL, this detailed parking data and analysis will be more readily available moving forward.
Thank you very much. Do you have a supplement?
I certainly do, thank you.
I just thought you would.
That was a very interesting answer, in which I note there are no figures. Because in August we asked officers for information about the income. We're told it wasn't available for the exact reasons you specified. The team that deals with this has been reduced so much, no one had the time or the ability to produce any detailed figures. And I noticed the Woodley car park trial is going on. Can you tell me how it's possible to manage the council's car parks properly if no one can look at the details of the income for several months?
Councillor Bowring?
I think we need to take a long-term view on that. It's quite understandable in many areas of the councils that during the 21st century, the council implementation, there are going to be resources that we are not entirely lacking. I'm quite happy that this is a small hiatus and that we will back to normal and we'll have full figures available for you in the near future.
Thank you very much. I believe it's now a two-point question.
Can I ask the question standing in my name?
Thank you very much, Tim, and I believe this again is for Mr. Bowring to take up the time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Tim, for your question. Both the existing traffic lights at Showcase Roundabout and the new junction on Lower Early Way will be utilising microprocessor optimised vehicular actuation, otherwise known as Mover, or possibly Mover. I'll call it Mover.
Shaker.
Gets traffic done.
Mover shaker.
Mover optimises signal timings based on the incoming traffic on a cycle-by-cycle basis. Linking the two sets of lights will restrict the ability for Mover to react to changes in traffic demand on each of the various approaches and could ultimately increase delays during peak times. The congestion currently experienced along Lower Early Way from Showcase towards Sendlesham Roundabout will not be removed by the introduction of the Lower Early Way junction, although there is a scheme planned for 2019 which will deliver some improvements. Regrettably, there are likely to be times during peak period when traffic backs through the junction, and a link, as suggested, will not alleviate this. However, I am grateful that you did mention the possibility of putting some sort of link in if things do not work out as expected. As part of the current works, there are no plans to establish a physical link, but in the future this should be possible to put in a virtual link, which will be established by utilising an urban traffic control system, which both junctions will be connected to via broadband communications.
Tim, do you have a supplement?
Yes, I do. Will Lower Early Way North have priority at the Showcase Roundabout over the Wokingham Road from Wokingham, as this will now be very much a secondary road?
As I said before, the roundabout will benefit from Mover. The Mover system allows the prioritisation you suggest. However, prioritisation will form part of the detailed design process and will be subject to refinement and modification to provide optimal traffic flows once the new scheme is fully operational. So the system learns as it goes along.
Thank you very much. I think we're now with Rachel Shepherd today. Rachel?
I'll ask the question standing in my name.
Thank you very much for that. Can Councillor Wilson tackle that?
You can. Thank you for the question. And as a member of the Officer Member Working Group, you will know that the phase 2 of the programme has begun. This phase will be split into 2 parts, and the rationale for this is that as phase 2 is larger and more complex than phase 1, it makes sense to ensure a safe transition. The departments in scope in each of the 2 parts of phase 2 are, for the first part, environment, income, assessments, collection and payment service, customer services, and children's social care and early help. And for part 2, adult social care, integrated mental health, education, housing, public health and leisure.
Thank you very much. Do you have a supplementary?
How will the new CEO and the interim CEO be involved in this project.
Thank you.
I can't answer for any new CEO or Chief Executive, but the interim Chief Executive is involved, and indeed I had an extensive meeting with her yesterday.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Councillor Jarvis, where's Councillor?
Can I ask this question in under his name, please,
Yeah,
Mr.
well,
Chairman? Okay,
No, we are not able, we will be able to written answer. Diane Kingsley, I know.
I'd like to ask the question standing in my name.
Thank you, please, Diane, that's Norman.
Yes, thank you for your question, Diane. We're fortunate that we have high levels of resident support and participation in our weekly waste and recycling services. However, officers visit and give advice to any household that are identified as needing guidance on using our services more efficiently and effectively. So we have not needed to invoke penalties in the borough, thanks to our residents' understanding and cooperation.
Thank you very much. So that's the end of the questions. We now move Mrs. King, I do apologise. Where are you? Mrs. King, waiting to me. I have only an apology. Do you have a supplement?
Now I feel well reassured by the answer.
I knew that, you see. Thanks, Diane. That's the end of member question time. We're now moving into minutes of committee meetings and ward matters. There are no supplementaries to this section, I'm happy to announce. Would those please show who have a question? And can you keep your arms out whilst Madeline is taking notes? Matt, so wave to Madeline. Keep those arms up. We think we've got 10 questions. So 10 into 20 goes 2 minutes each. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go right down the list, alphabetical order, and carry that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. HMO applications, both licenses and planning in my ward, Shenfield North, are being approved by West Berkshire. Currently, when considering these applications, parking congestion is not considered at all, although inevitably HMOs add additional parking burden on the estates such as Shenfield Park in my ward. Can I ask the exec member for planning that he exercises full authority to review and change the rules and insist that parking congestion is taken into account when considering HMO applications?
Thank you, Barry. It's either David or Simon. I don't mind. You don't as well.
Norman.
Oh, it's Norman.
Well, Simon and I are mixing things up just to confuse everyone.
Yeah.
This is mainly a licensing issue rather than a planning one, hence I'll take it.
Go on.
The applications, of course, go into our shared licensing service, so it's not West Berkshire as such, it's our shared licensing service. Under the HMO process, parking is not one of the issues that can be looked at under the licensing application. As far as where we looked at this under the scrutiny committee a number of times during 2015 and 2016, and clearly parking in the Shenfield Park estate is a major issue. And I really do sympathise with the residents there. It was planned and the application went in under the John Prescott scheme, where despite him having 2 cars, he thought everybody else could make do with half a car.
Yeah.
So it's built on that basis, and there is a parking issue there. One of the things that scrutiny came up with was to see if there was any other space that could be used for parking, and that's an ongoing thing. If residents or the parish council can identify space, that might be a way forward. The Borough Council, alas, doesn't have money in its budget for that. So at the moment, parking is not one of the issues that we look at when we get an application. We've got to just look at whether the house is suitable and all the conditions are met. I think to try and get a change in the policy, rather than us locally doing it, we need to ensure that the government changes the rules. So I would encourage you to write to our MP, and if you need my support, I'm happy to do that as well. I think it needs to come from there rather than locally, but I really do sympathise with the residents in that state.
Thank you, Norman. Questions for Mr. Smith, I would help us. Prue Bray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a question on highways, I think. Southern Gas Networks have been working Churchill Drive in Winnersh since June, putting new replacement gas mains, and they dug up the road, they've dug up the verge, and they've taken out some trees. So what can you do to make sure that they reinstate things properly, including replacing the trees that they've removed?
I will talk to the appropriate officer first thing in the morning.
Thank you, Chris. Gary? Please, sir.
Yeah, for Norman actually, I received the planning notification number 172284 for the removal of 2 TPO trees on the 13th of September. I immediately asked for some more information, but I never got a reply. The listed determination date was the 9th of October. I chased it up with the PC only to get an email stating it was approved on the 9th of September, which was actually before the consultation ever started. I found this odd, so I contacted the manager responsible, only for him to state that work to remove healthy trees to implant a planning permission is acceptable and there is no requirement to consult. He added that any comment on this received would have made no difference to the decision. The manager also stated there is no legislation requiring consultation with borough and parish councils on TPO applications. The concern I have with this is, if this is how borough and parish councils are treated by ignoring localism, then what hope have residents got of protecting any healthy tree, green root or trees in conservation areas that are at risk of removal? And could Norman assure me that he will look into this matter and report back to the council? Thank you.
Harry, do you want to respond?
Yes, thank you very much. Gary did give me some notice of this earlier today, so I'm prepared for it. Thank you, Gary. I think that it's important to say that Gary's had quite an exchange of emails with the officers responsible, so probably nothing much that I say will be a surprise to him, but just put it on the record. I think that the officer did say that if it had a response, it may have made no difference rather than would have made no difference, just to correct that one point. Under the TPO regulations, there is no requirement to undertake consultation with the public, members or town and parish councils in respect of tree work applications. This is primarily due to the technical nature of the application. This approach is not a Wokingham Borough decision, but is set out in legislation. There is an 8-week period for determining a tree works application, and this is to allow the authority time to assess the specification, visit the trees and respond with a decision notice. It's incumbent upon councils to determine these TWAs as quickly as possible, and there is no formal consultation period. Once a full assessment of the TWA is undertaken, the council can determine this. While the council does not consult on TWAs, they are given a planning application number and appear on the council's website for audit purposes and transparency. The council also notifies town and parish councils and ward members for information only, and this is made clear on the notification email. This is to inform members of what is going on in their area and also so they're aware that the work to trees are authorised. In this case, the removal of the trees was necessary to implement a planning application. As consultation was undertaken in respect of the planning application, the parish council were given the opportunity to make representations at that time. With regard to the application not being on the website, I will look into this further and come back to you, Gary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Could I plead with people answering questions to make the answers a little slicker? Andy Brook.
Thank you. when I'm door knocking in my ward, people often ask me when will I get my council house. I asked the housing department a few months ago how many people were waiting for council houses, and the answer was about 1,700. Yesterday, Councillor Pauline Jorgensen published information which said we would complete 100 council houses by April next year and about 50 to 70 per year after. Given those two sets of numbers, what reassurances can you give me, Mr. Belinsky or Councillor Belinsky, that residents in my ward would not have to wait 25 to 30 years before they get a council house?
Who is going to take this one?
Sorry, we'll take.
David, do you want to take that?
I'll
really easy.
Yeah, I'll take that in respect that I'm on the holding company, which subsidiary the housing company. I'm quite happy to actually come back to you in terms of the numbers we're building, but it will be more than that. We have a 35% requirement on all applications. And as was mentioned earlier, I think by Simon, there are 13,000 current applications outstanding. So I cannot comment on what someone has said somewhere else. I can tell you what the facts are. We have a housing company which has got substantial commuted sums available to it and borrowings to build council housing of all types. And you also heard, I think earlier too, that we've got 500, 100 of which will be built by our own housing company. So I can get you the figures, more than happy to have a chat with you, but we are building substantial numbers of affordable housing in this area.
Thank you, David. Philip Holdsworth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very conscious that members are now being offered training under the 21st Century Programme, and I'd like to see that extended to parish councillors as well, which I'm very sure that will enhance the valuable duty they do already.
Thank you, Councillor Holdsworth, and I can assure you that we will be providing training to parish and town councillors at the appropriate time.
Thank you. It's Clive Jones next. Clive, in the spirit of time, didn't get straight to the questions, and then the executive members get straight to the answers. Thank you, Clive.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. My question is for the Executive Member for the Environment. Several Hawkden residents have expressed concerns to me that the new development at Hatch Farm Dairies will cause flooding in their homes in Hawkden Ward. Will you guarantee to these residents that their homes will not be flooded?
As you might expect, it's not really within my remit to guarantee that they will not be flooded. The site went through the planning approval process and provided that everything was done properly in that process, then it shouldn't result in any more flooding than would otherwise have been the case.
Thank you very much. Pauline.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've had quite a lot of questions from local residents prompted by changes to the 19A and 19C bus services, and some confusing or maybe inaccurate information provided apparently by Reading Buses to local residents about bus funding. I met the executive member and officers to discuss the situation last week, and I wonder if Chris could give us an update on what's being done to resolve the issues.
Thank you. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Pauline, for the question. Extension of the contract between the Council and Reading Buses of the 19A and 19C buses, now renamed 12 Bus, succeeded in maintaining a good off-peak service. The Council committed to a larger subsidy to do this. However, some of the well-used peak services have been removed by the bus company, which is owned by Labour-controlled Reading Borough Council. This was a particular inconvenience to people having early morning hospital appointments at the Royal Berks Hospital. The Council is using its best endeavours to remedy this unfortunate position which has arisen, despite the Council's willingness to commit funds to help some of our most vulnerable residents. Unfortunately, I've been advised that the Council is not allowed to subsidise commercial services, which this service is.
Thank you very much. Councillor Pollock.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I have a question on the Shinfield Eastern Relief Road. Rumour has it, I was told today, that Hopteeth have said It won't be completed by Christmas, and it might not be completed until next summer.
Which Christmas?
That's a good question. The other bit is that I hear rumours that when testing the drains on this road, that some of them have discovered to have been collapsed already before any traffic has gone through it. I realise this isn't one of our projects. I realise this is that wonderful institution called Reading University, who rape and pillage my ward for as much money as they can raise, but that's another matter. I wondered whether the relevant executive members had any knowledge of this, or could give me any reassurance that perhaps it's not as bad as I have been led to believe.
Thank you, Councillor. You guys heard Mr. Green?
Yes, I'll take that. I attended a forum last night at the, what's it called?
3 Mile.
3 Mile Cross Church. And the Reading University had their stand right beside Opchi, what is it called? Anyway, those ones. And I think everybody was a bit embarrassed. And no, they didn't give any firm date. But I'm not sure. I think if we went for Christmas maybe next year, that might be sort of near the date. It is a bit of a mess. It's maybe an example of why we should actually make sure that we do the roads ourselves in the future. I also had a conversation with the university chap about exactly what you said, I think, raping and pillaging your particular area, because it's from a very environmentally aware university who are only aware when it's somewhere else and not their land. So I have every sympathy with the residents trying to get onto that road, but there's very little that we can do about it.
Thank you. Beth.
Thank you, Chairman. Many of the residents in my ward see regular press releases regarding a lot of money being spent on Wokingham Town Centre and Carnival Pool. However, they do not see anything at all about Bullmarsh Pool redevelopment, which seems to have dropped off whatever list it was on. Please will you tell me when the proposed redevelopment of this valued Woodley Pool will begin?
Thank you very much.
I think that's Norman.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think if you look at the Executive Forward Programme, you'll see that the plan is to bring a paper to the October Executive regarding the Bullmarsh Leisure Centre. So there should be information available to you very shortly on that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And lastly is Michelle again. Shall I stop? Sorry, have we missed you? We have missed you. Alright, well, that's fine, girls.
Can someone explain to me why the parks in Winnish have not had their grass cut, but the parks in Wokingham have? Have you subbed it out to Hachi or something like this to do the work?
Right.
Sounds like me again. I think
it's one.
it's difficult to answer generic questions about things like that. I think I need specifics about which parks and where. The
Winnish Meadows, Woodward Close.
Hang on.
And it would be useful to have such information in writing when it arises, rather than bringing it up to council meeting like this, where just to try and catch me on the hop. The parks are cut regularly, and if there are problems with it, then please write to me and let me know.
Right. I'm just going to suggest that if you have a road issue, write to them.
Okay, Hachi doing it, I guess.
Okay, you do that. Right. Lastly, quickly, go for it.
Hello, last time I checked I became 4R, but okay. Within Embrook, in Townley Depot, there has appeared this concrete batching plant that's 3 stories tall. I understand that it's been agreed that it should have planning enforcement on it, but unfortunately Wokingham